because the temperature of the desert can drop from 100 plus degrees during the day to something below freezing at night. And so God provided for them in that way. And speaking of providing for them in that way, that leads us to the third thing, vitals. God provided for their vital needs. For God shall supply all of your needs, no matter what they be. God is able to meet them. Remember, in the desert, a place of barrenness and abandon, where they do not have what they so desperately need, what we discover is that God gives them meat. God gives them bread, gives them water, the very means to keep going, the very means to hang on, the very means to be sustained and supported. God was giving all of them that and even more. God met their need 4,000 years ago. God will meet our needs now. Listen, think about it. If you have no other reason to have assurance, if you have no other reason to have confidence, if you have no other reason to be, to know that you're going to be okay, just think of it this way. God's had practice. Literally, for 4 millennia, God's been taking care of his people. And God will take care of his people now as well. We just must trust him. And that leads us to this. Not only is God for us, God is also with us. You'll remember as they wandered through the wilderness, God provided a tabernacle for himself in which his presence would symbolically dwell, that Shekinah glory. But what is unique to note is that when the children of Israel camped, when they set up their tents, they first and foremost were to build the tent, the meeting place with God. And then they were to put their own tents in formation. 3 tribes on each of the 4 geographic sides, north, south, east, and west. Now they were to be back a mile from the tabernacle. Now talk about distancing. God was saying, I've got to spiritually distance myself from you, because if we get too close, I'm going to have to wipe you out. Because there's this problem of sin that has not yet been fully, completely, totally, forever dealt with. But it would be. That's what this whole Lenten season is about. That Jesus would bridge that mile wide or however large a distance gap and bring us together. He would be the ultimate reconciler, bringing God back with his creation and his creation back with God. And so what we see is that God was not only for them, but God was with them. He didn't put his tent out on the edge of the community. He didn't put his tent on the next plateau or location town over. He was right there in the midst of what they were going through. And as God was with them then, God is with us now. I could not, as a person, let alone as a pastor, think that I had to deal with this present reality myself in my own life, in the life of my family, and the life of my church region family, if I thought I had to do it all on my own. But God is not, my friends, just alongside of us, interested. He is. But God is invested. He has committed himself to us. I will never leave thee nor forsake thee, we hear those words say. And even more than that, God goes beyond the investment and commitment, not just to stand by our side and look in our direction, but to be involved in our situation and our circumstance. I have to believe that plays out right now and is true. One life lost to this virus is one too many. But when you think of all the people who have this virus, and think of all the people who have some symptoms, but not too serious, and others who have had some serious symptoms, but gotten well, that number is exponentially ballooned in comparison to those each and every individually valued life. And I have to believe those who are sustained. That is a demonstration of the grace of God. And others who have not gotten sick, yet being in contact with ones who are. Again, God doing for us what we could not do for ourselves, taking care of us in ways we couldn't take care of ourselves. And then let me finish out with this last and final thought, D. If you haven't noticed it yet, I've been using an acronym, COVID. Comfortable with uncomfortable, over, under, all around us. Vitals, God provides them. in the midst. God's right where we're at, in the thick of things. And lastly, D, you and I need to decide to learn as we live this reality. We need to be opened. We need to be flexible. And I've seen it happening. We as region staff have seen that happening. As pastors and church leaders have adapted what they do to new and different ways to minister, to have adopted completely new ideas, thinking out of the box, stepping out of their comfort zone, realizing if we're going to make ministry happen in these days, in these weeks, we've got to do that ministry differently than we have ever done it before. Listen, some of God's best teachings occur during times of trial, and I hope that we remain open enough, ears, eyes, mind, and heart, to receive the lessons that God wants to share. Listen, talk about sharing. There's some announcements I want to share with you as we wrap up this Thursday afternoon check-in. So let me share some of these announcements with you. The first announcement is that beginning tomorrow, as we've done for the last several weeks, we will be posting an interactive map. Every week we've been attempting to showcase 7 different congregations of size, location, pastoral leadership, style in both Pennsylvania and Delaware. This will be on our website, posted on the Facebook page. All you need to do is go to it and click it. And listen, this is for congregations who aren't having opportunities for online worship, but this would also be good for you as a pastoral leader to check out later to see what others are doing and adapt and adopt some of their ideas to make your online presence as most effective as it possibly can be. I also want to be sharing with you a couple other announcements. Sadly, but needed, the Thrive Conference, the annual conference of our American Baptist women that was scheduled for a little later, sadly has been canceled. Probably a better word is postponed. We're going to be doing that next year, carrying over the ideas that we believe God has given us for the conference this year and use them in 2021. And speaking of cancellations, I also want to mention to you that the annual pastors retreat has sadly also had to been canceled. Some of that has to do with not only the realities in our own state, but because our speaker was coming from 2/3 of the way across the country, we weren't even sure if he would be able to travel at that time. So in order to do the best we can and be the best stewards of what we have been given, it has been best to cancel that, and we'll be updating you concerning that and maybe other opportunities that may online be taking its place. And speaking of opportunities, let me be reminding you, you've already seen this probably on a Constant Contact that went out today, maybe our Facebook location. We're going to be offering through our Regional School of Ministry, ACTS, a 3-week course from 7 to 9 p.m. Tuesdays, April 7th, 14th, and 21st on the history of the Bible. Reverend Randy Powell, pastor of the First Baptist Church of Franklin, Pennsylvania, who we have had as an instructor before and is a member of the school's governing council and board, will be teaching this course. You're not going to want to miss this opportunity. There is no registration required. There is no cost or fee involved. We are making this available to you because we believe that there's going to be people who are available because of this shelter-in-place reality. And so going back to that last point I made about deciding to be a continuing learner, this is an opportunity for you online to continue to learn. So I hope that you will seize the moment and take advantage of this educational opportunity that we're putting out there for you. Oh, and then one final announcement. In just about 1 minute, we're going to be transitioning from this Facebook Live interaction to going to a Zoom platform where we're calling together pastors and church leaders from across our region to talk for about an hour about how their congregations will be handling Holy Week activities. It is clear that most, if not all, of our congregations in our 2-region state will be shut down, at least for part, if not all, of that most most sacred week of probably the entire calendar year. And so we're bringing people together. It's going to be moderated by Rob Rice, our adjunct on Region staff for our leadership learning communities, and Chris Davis, pastor of the Liberty Baptist Church in Blanchard. He also is the president of our Region's Ministers Council. They're going to be moderating that session as people come together, pastors and lay folk, to share their ideas and contribute. Again, listening with open ears to hear what is being said and sharing that news so that, again, we can do what we do the best possible way. Thank you again for taking this time to be with us this afternoon. It is my prayer that you will be safe, that you will be well, that you will be blessed. Bye.